episode of White Collar Coffee Conversations. As a group of forensic accountants who work with attorneys and investigators on cases related to financial fraud, complex commercial litigation, valuation and damages, as well as many other experts, we're putting together brief interviews with leaders across the industry to bring you some really interesting insights and to understand the trends we expect going forward. My name is Giammarco, and I lead RSM's forensics practice. On this special edition of White Collar Coffee Conversations, we're sharing our takeaways from the ABA's 38th National Institute on White Collar Crime, which took place in Miami earlier this month on March 1st through March 3rd. RSM was a sponsor there, and we had a great contingent of our professionals who were able to absorb a lot of the information that was presented by thought leaders across the industry. Today, we'll share some of those takeaways with you, and we're going to start with one of our partners in Boston, Jeff Szafran. Jeff, why don't you tell us a little bit about your takeaways from the ABA's conference?
I think one of the key takeaways I had was just how well attended the conference was. I've been going to this conference for years now, and this was the first one since, the COVID era hit us that really felt like it did in the pre-COVID era. So it was nice to see tons of people there and some great weather in Miami too. In terms of other takeaways, the DOJ made some interesting announcements. Lisa Monaco, in her speech, announced the new clawback rules that the DOJ will be implementing. And these come on the heels of the SEC just very recently, a few months back, announcing the new clawback rules under Dodd-Frank that'll go into effect next year. So 2023 is definitely shaping up to be the year of the executive clawback compensation rules. In the DOJ ones, the new DOJ rules are very interesting in one respect, and that is that companies will get a dollar for dollar reduction in their monetary penalties for any amounts that they successfully claw back from executives, which is a big boon for the companies because they're going to get to keep that money. So not only do they reduce their fine, but they're actually getting cash into the company coffers. And the idea here is that shareholders are often harmed due to this bad conduct and the payment of monetary penalties, but in the sense of clawing back money from executives, the shareholders won't be harmed by that because the money will go into the corporate coffers. So it's a 3-year pilot program, but the rules will go into effect this year. It'll be very interesting to watch how the DOJ pushes forward with clawbacks.
Jeff, thank you so much for your thoughts. We really appreciate it. And I know a lot of the folks at the conference were certainly interested in the updates provided by the DOJ, and the impact of the corporate compliance programs has been on our radar for many years now. So next, let's turn to Greg Naviloff, another partner in our Boston office, who'll talk about his takeaways from the ABA conference.
It was a great conference, super turnout, and really a lot of interesting content from all the presentation panels. One of the things that caught my eyes was the sanctions and export controls, that being the next FCPA, certainly big on the radar for a lot of my clients. Other things that came about from the conference, big discussion of the DOJ's criminal division's evaluation of corporate compliance program and some of the enhancements there. Specifically, there's discussion around incentivization of ethics and compliance and what does that look like. Timely remediation has always been a major theme for organizations, for our clients. Also, update on how monitors will be selected, so that information is going to be coming out in short order. But one of the heavy focuses there will be on DEI, which isn't too surprising, and focus on how monitors are being selected and giving and making sure that monitors reflect diversity as well.
Greg, thank you so much for your thoughts. I know there's been a lot of discussions around monitorships and the requirements of such, as well as the increase in expected monitorships. So we appreciate your thoughts there. In addition, obviously, the efforts and the importance of compliance is something that has certainly been on our radar, especially considering the DOJ's considerations of compliance programs as they discuss corporations and individuals that have engaged in misconduct and those remediation efforts. We also have Mike Braverman with us, who's one of our partners in our New York office that was also at the ABA conference. Mike, why don't you share some of your takeaways with the audience?
Hey, the ABA's National Institute on White Collar Crime generally rotates between the East and West Coasts, South Florida and California. This year's venue is in downtown Miami, a change from the many years it was in Miami Beach. And putting the great weather aside, this year's venue certainly facilitated navigating the various networking events which have become a cornerstone of the conference, where RSM was again proud to be a sponsor. Speaking with many attorneys and other attendees, it is evident that one hot topic is how our forensics practice here at RSM is incorporating digital tools and AI into our investigations and other litigation-based engagements. The proliferation of technology has enhanced our ability to collect laptop and mobile devices, image, process, and analyze data, and upload it to encrypted FTP sites, and provides us the ability to extract, reconcile, and analyze data from external sources such as bank and credit card information, increasing the speed and efficiency with which we conduct analyses and share work product with clients and counsel. This, of course, leads to faster results, greater efficiency, and lower costs. And who doesn't like lower costs? Some of the vendors we use had a prominent presence at this conference, more so than in prior years. Regarding content, regulators and other speakers provided updates in numerous areas. Some of those are, the DOJ's increased use of data analytics and data science in identifying irregular activity and anomalies in registrant filings, sort of consistent with the use of technology comments I made earlier. There were discussions about recent developments and trends in FCPA enforcement, where, again, digital tools have greatly enhanced our ability to work faster and more efficiently, particularly across borders. Potential, increased securities enforcement from a more proactive SEC and continued focus on AML, healthcare fraud, and asset seizures. So all in all, I'd say this year's conference checked a lot of boxes.
Now we're going to move on, last but not least, to Chris Ekimoff, our director in Washington, D.C., who leads up our investigations that are related to cryptocurrency and digital assets. Clearly, that was a hot topic. Chris, why don't you share your takeaways?
Yeah, Stephanie, as you know, Miami has recently styled itself as the headquarters in the U.S. for cryptocurrency. Popular story came out a couple of years ago where the mayor of Miami asked to be paid his salary in Bitcoin. So Miami has always been all in on crypto, and having the ABA's conference there this year definitely leaned into that idea. Now, those of you who follow kind of cryptocurrency and digital assets, or digital asset securities, as the SEC calls them, follow that space. We're still in this kind of gray area in terms of regulations. Now, the defense bar would argue that there's a lack of clarity about how existing securities laws and currency regulations would relate to the cryptocurrency products and technology that we're seeing in the space. However, the SEC and other regulators continue to say that these regulations are on the books, we have a framework, and if you've got a product, we should be able to apply those laws to what you're developing or what you're asking investors to put their money into. And this is where we get into some of those discussions that, unfortunately for the market, we use the phrase, we end up with regulation by enforcement, right? This idea that enforcement actions are driving the decisions that technology companies need to make as they look in the space versus having some upstanding regulation up front. So that's really kind of the argument that we've continued to hear for the past 18 months, and we heard in Miami as well. Now, the application of those securities concepts lead to some interesting discussions of specific offerings and products, such as DeFi, staking, and other types of protocols in the crypto world. They continue to be a hot button issue, but the SEC's position is the same. Before offering investments or shares of crypto-based tokens or coins or other products, consider coming in and interfacing with the SEC directly. For those of you who follow Commissioner Gensler on Twitter, his fireside chats usually involve the phrase, come on in and register. The SEC continues to feel that that will be the best way to look at cryptocurrencies and digital asset securities moving forward to avoid those enforcement actions down the road.
Chris, thank you so much for those interesting insights. And yes, crypto is absolutely a hot topic, and we'll continue to see how that industry evolves and the way that individuals and organizations can respond to the regulations and the compliance requirements. Well, I want to thank all of our viewers for joining us today. Appreciate your time. Hopefully you found these insights interesting and informative. If you have a topic you'd like us to cover on one of our next White Collar Coffee Conversations, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We look forward to seeing you soon.